Hey, what's up guys? It's your boy Lieutenant Crunch, and today we're going to see if we can beat Elden Ring as the young, much angrier, much more baby-faced version of Kratos. Now, this version of Kratos has used many more weapons in the past than that old crusty version, including dipping his toes in the Dark Arts kiddie pool, so he could use some spells, the blades, a big ol' hammer, big ol' fist, this random guy, and he even used this dude's decapitated head as a flashlight one time. Of course, it's only appropriate to start with the Blades of Chaos, and in the last video, I hauled my stupid thick ass all the way up to Volcano Manor to get the Magma blades, which I still wake up in cold sweats from. So this time, I decided to save my smooth brain a little bit of torture, so I just chose the warrior class to start with since he already has 2 curved swords. And my most astute viewers may have noticed the lack of fire on these swords, and golly gee, you're right, so I am gonna have to farm for some fire grease materials. And technically, in God of War Ascension, you could actually add lightning, ice, or fire to your weapons, so you could actually apply whatever you want. Or you can just stick to fire. I don't know, I'm not your dad. But if you're my dad, please come home, I miss you. Then we need to get some proper attire, so I make my way over to Ohio on its absolute best day, buy some clothes from this man, and also grind these guys for a while to get some golden wrist armor so my wrist will be flooded to the max, no Rolex required. The first boss Kratos ever fought was this big kraken. Unfortunately, just like the clit, it doesn't exist, but there is this thing, which is pretty close I guess. Once I was done smacking the chapped off the lips of the Kraken, I decided to take out Margaret really quick because I'm going to need a whopping 45 strength to use this next weapon, and since I don't know the Liver King personally, I'm going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, by straight up grinding, and I ain't talking Tony Hawk. And if you're wondering how I grind so hard, well 1, I refuse to press this button on my coffee maker, and 2, I just partnered with Gamersubs. And if you're watching this in the first 24 hours, they want to give you a completely free sample pack, no shipping costs, no payment info required, just goose egg, goose egg, goose egg. All you have to do is click the link in my description, add the sample pack, and use my code TYT at checkout, and if it's not in the first 24 hours, or you just want more guacamole gamer farts, you can still use the same code for 10% off the entire store. Plus, if I'm a really good boy, I might even get my own Charlie themed flavor one day with his cute little face on it. So I took the liberty of whipping up some examples, and I think it'd be real swell if you told me which one was your favorite in the comments, and I might even pick one of them to give a nice little care package of gamer subs to. Thank ya, bye bye. Once he's taken care of, I dump all my red orbs into strength, and I'm still not even close because I need a whopping 45 strength, and since I want to follow his journey, I also feel like I need to earn this weapon the same way he did. And that was by fighting the Barbarian King, who was a man on a horse, which we all know Elden Ring is famous for having more horse bosses than any other game in history, which is a big reason it won Game of the Year, but there is one guy on a horse that stands above the rest. So I take out this yellow fella right here and take his book, even though I can't read, and then I give it to this turtle so I can hopefully be turtly enough for the Turtle Club, and I need 17 faith to use it. I had an absolutely terrible time with this fight. I'm already pretty bad at it, plus I've never fought him at such a low level before, so I am extra stinky at it right now. And you may have noticed that this fight broke me enough to the point that I went ahead and got the Magma blades anyway because those other swords I were using were straight dookie from a butt, plus constantly applying fire grease multiple times every single attempt has to be some form of torture. Luckily, the swords and the lightning gave me enough of an edge to finally get through this after about 50 attempts without calmly turning my computer off and taking a much needed break from the game so I can come back refreshed and try again later. Once he's taken care of, he gives us enough Cole's cash to afford whatever the Liver King is doing and finally give us enough strength to be 13 levels away still. Shit. Still don't have enough, and you know what else Kratos fought? A really big bull, and this is basically that dipped in nightmare fuel, so we're gonna take him out lickety-split. Except it wasn't lickety-split because it takes forever because you're basically using a nerf sword on him unless you can manage to hit him in the face or that tiny little spot on his booty. He's really not even that complicated to fight, he just has a ton of health and he can one-shot me a lot because I have been choosing to get those gains over that health and I still only get enough for one more level. Capitalism truly has destroyed the lands between. So I just gave up, did it the old-fashioned way by grinding a bunch of these dudes, and I took out the dragon while I was at it, and ooh, isn't this pretty, am I right? Am I right?
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Wow.
Now that we have enough strength to actually use the weapon, we could head on over to this big fella, obliterate him, and finally get our big old Overcompensator 3000, and was it all worth it? Yeah, big hammer go smash. Unfortunately, I'm never satisfied, so I immediately start my quest for the next weapon, which is much cooler in my opinion, and is another very long journey that starts by talking to this moon lady that's not the other moon lady with the feet. Now we can make our way into the pits of hell for probably the 5th time in Kratos' life, and then we fight myself because you can in fact fight the super evil, probably doesn't replace the toilet paper roll after using the last piece, version of himself in one of the other games, and I absolutely wreck him in a hilarious fashion. Then we grab the Singer Flare Blade, get a quote-unquote inverted statue that I'm pretty sure is just upside down, put the thing on the thing, grab the other thing to get to feel like a pretty princess for 2 seconds, teleport to the river, grab a doll, and have one of my mini schizo conversations with an inanimate object. Is that a fucking Bloodborne reference, my guy? And then I need to take out our boy Blizzy Blyde by bravely waiting for the same attack over and over. And I actually need to get something out of Mommy Ranella's room real quick, so I need to take out her wolf, and it was wham, bam, thank you, Sam Raimi, for making the Spider-Man trilogy. I really enjoyed it, even the 3rd one. And now for the lady herself, and I never really use big weapons like this, but it was quite satisfying since I immediately crippled her with each hit, and I just imagined she would look like a Family Guy character that fell down the stairs or something in real life. But after running around forever, we finish her wolves off, finish her off, grab the thing, and then we get to do the oh so fun task of running through a lake of Advanced Poison Plus 2.0 Deluxe package until we finally get to decide to take a quick nap in this coffin, because that is a very normal thing to do. Our reward for that is getting to face this monstrosity with the slowest swinging weapon on Earth. Luckily, Kratos does have the ability to go into rage mode or whatever in the old games, and I actually hate this Ash of War on this hammer, so I gave him the War Cry instead since it boosts your attack. This weapon is extremely slow, but once I got the hang of all of his attacks, I was able to start staggering him pretty consistently by doing 2 light attacks and then following it up with a heavy. Once you get into the second phase, it's pretty much the exact same thing, except you'll start doing this meteorite attack that's pretty easy to avoid just by getting really close and start rolling around like you're in some sort of roly-poly imitation contest, and then just start smacking away. Once whatever that thing is gone, I dump all my runes into intelligence, make my way over to this altar where this dragon will try and fight you, and I was like, yeah, but no, then blindly make my way through this tunnel because torches are for people that don't have that alpha mentality to just simply see in the darkness. Just look harder. Then we can talk to Ramen for the very last time, and we can finally get our reward, which will represent the Olympus Blade. Sadly, we need 38 intelligence to use it, and I only have 28 even with my talisman, but luckily from our adventures down south, I was able to get some larva tears, so I swapped out my strength for intelligence so I could use this for now, and it was 1 bajillion% worth it because this thing straight up comes. Similar to the actual Olympus Blade, you can send waves of magic from it, plus it just feels really good to finally be able to use a regular sword again, because while that hammer does look really cool, it's also very hard to use effectively. And since this thing is putting the hurt in British yogurt, I kind of went extra sicko mode on these next few bosses because the sword is just really good, and I may have been abusing the magic attack just a little bit because I'm just such a little scamp, just a real silly guy, just a wacko, just a big old goofball, you know? Now that those jabronis are taken care of, we could head up to the Zendaya ruins to face this spooktastic fella and get this here fancy wrist armor. Eventually, we make our way over to the constipated snowfield, and I have to fight this man first, which was very fun, but also super difficult. It did get a tiddlywink easier when I realized you could actually reach him with your magic attack when he's doing his little frost tornado thing or whatever, and with the power of Grayskull, I actually got extremely lucky and barely took any damage until the very end of the fight. Now that he's gone, we could head to the next area, but before I go there, I decided it was time for a new weapon, and I went through the hardest task of all, which was killing this guy and taking his balls. With his balls in my hand, we could head back to the conservative snowfield with one simple thought in mind besides how this will affect LeBron's legacy, and that's to erase this man from existence. And to my absolute surprise, and I didn't plan this was actually some ball-on-ball crime, and his balls actually stretch out a concerning amount, but unfortunately for this handsome beefcake, my balls were just far superior to his in almost every single way imaginable. And then I stole his clothes, just to rub more salt in his wounds. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that these fists are supposed to represent these bad boys. Yeah, I know, they're practically identical. And I would have just used 2 of the grafted dragons since they're both like animals you use as fish, you know, but then I would have to go into New Game Plus. Which is a perfect segue to shame some of my audience for taking the time out of their day to comment on my video to just try to help me out. You absolute fools, you goofy goobers, Silly Goose University just called, you got in. Full scholarship nonetheless. While yes, you can duplicate boss souls, you could only get 1 of each item per run, so if you wanted 2 of them, you would have to start New Game Plus. So nana boo boo, stick your head in doodoo. Before we face the fire giant, I need to get our last weapon by killing this fart smeller for his spear, and then you can just buy the large leather shield from your local large leather shield dealer to represent the arms of Sparta. And the last thing we need to do is set up the Frenzied Flame ending because duh, and the only notable thing we really have to do is take out this little baby weenie version of the real Lord of Blood by just poking the absolute hell out of this man. Just keep poking. Just keep poking away. He really does not seem to mind that much. He'll even bend down for you just so you can poke him again. Twice. Then we need to go spelunking in this dungeon, do some hardcore parkour while committing several OSHA violations, and then get naked in front of this strange mystical door. So just another Saturday night with the boys. And now I'm finally ready to face the fire giant with my big balls and inner demons, which is truly a recipe for success because I went absolutely apeshit on this man. I legit think these fists are some of my new favorite weapons because my man just punches with such speed and grace that it's just beautiful to watch, really. Plus my horde of souls that are just ready to jump him at my command makes this whole fight a piece of cake with a little bit of Famunda cheese sprinkled on top. The second phase was still pretty difficult though because it just takes absolutely forever and I'm basically at risk of getting one shot at any point, but with a little bit of perseverance and wasting hours of my precious youth, I was able to get through it. Now there still are a handful of in-game items and spells that I'm going to get for this build, but yes, you can be Elden Ring as young Kratos. Look, I just did it. Aren't you so shocked? But what's more fun than that is going into an alternate reality to borrow God of Ring real quick and replace all of the weapons and the skin on my body with the Ultra 4K Mega Super Pre-Order Deluxe Burger King exclusive edition, except for a couple of my weapons that I'm going to need to earn in battle. And we're going to start by earning our fist weapons first from the roided to the gills, zero-turn hero himself, Hercules. Okay, apparently what I really meant to say was we're going to pay the Foreskin twins a visit really quick so I can show them my brand new shiny blades. The best part about these new blades is now I can effectively use them at close or medium range, so I can get in there, shank them with a shiv them with a shank, and then electric slide away for some good old medium range chain action. Sadly, they never really stood a chance, considering I am in fact still the God Killer, and they in fact have the word God in their name, so they were pretty much doomed from the start. Also, I decided to use my lightning for this fight for the first time in a while because in the second phase for the skinny one, he absolutely shivers my timbers and I didn't want to be anywhere near him. And when the oval boy goes into his second phase, it's really easy just to get him stuck on this pillar right here and then you can just start whipping the hell out of this man in a totally non-sexual BDSM way. And after a handful of attempts, I was able to manhandle the gods of skin and earn my spear from one and the shield from the other, and now we can go earn our hammer by facing the absolute pinnacle of horses with a guy on top and face the Barbarian King. This was actually surprisingly difficult, but in a good way, even though the spear does go pretty hard in the paint if I do say so myself. There is actually quite a bit of different attacks you can learn with the spear because it has two different modes with different attacks and different follow-up attacks and different heavy attacks and charged heavy attacks, and my brain was sparking just a little bit trying to remember it all, but eventually I got it. Once I had all that memorized, I thought it was going to be pretty smooth sailing because I was just giving him the business and he was barely doing any damage to me up until he just turned into the goddamn Ghost Rider out of nowhere. I was genuinely surprised when this happened the first time because I had no idea he even had a second phase and he just started absolutely buttering my biscuits. And at one point I thought I broke the game, but nope, there is a third phase where, get this, he gets off the horse. And now he is just a man with no horse, a horseless man, if you will. My brain truly could not comprehend what it was witnessing at the time, but luckily it seems like he mostly just uses Big Daddy Lou's moveset, except with a big ol' hammer instead of fists. I decided to go test it out on a formidable foe right away, being this big fella, and he may not have God in his name, but he does have Lord, and that's pretty darn close. Plus, this fight just looks super sick, especially if you turn the HUD off. I mean, look at this, just, ooh, god damn. This every screenshot could be a background. And the hammer itself was just the bee's knees and or its foreskin because I was just absolutely knocking this man in his jibs and there really wasn't a damn thing he could do about it. I would have beat him a lot faster if I wasn't so ass at dodging that giant laser attack at the end, but once I was able to get past it the first time, I sent this man back from whence he came and I chose the Olympus blade as my next weapon. Which, fun fact, is actually how he got that funny little scar right there when his own father stabbed him right through the stomach. But I think we've all been there. I mean, all of our fathers have stabbed us a couple times, you know. Now we can test our brand new Olympus blade on this poor guy, and this thing is absolutely bonkers. I haven't leveled it up at all, but its ability to stagger enemies so easily makes it insanely powerful, which is probably why it was wielded by the Zeus Meister himself. Needless to say, I made pretty quick work of these two. I was even trying to restrain from using my heavy beam attack because it was pretty much a guaranteed knockdown, but it still happened pretty often. Before we go get our last weapon, I'm going to take this baby on the road and go clean up some of the Remembrance bosses because the real Kratos would definitely leave 0 survivors in this world, and we start by getting a nice warm hug. Then we have to take out this group of goons real quick, and I just had a jolly good time running around, swapping weapons, smashing them all to death, just like the man himself would. Next we need to take out the Black Guy's Red Dragon, and yeah, it's another dragon fight. It looks really cool, but I like the other one better. Do I really gotta fight the deer thing? Okay, we run around forever activating things by pressing the thing, and then we violate this dead deer corpse, and then we violate his alive corpse because I'm kind of over leveled for this, and we turn him into magic deer jerky. Done. I suppose we could take out the snake boy now, and I quickly walk past this piece of crap weapon they want me to use because my weapon is far superior. Actually, it's kind of not though, because they both serve the same purpose of just knocking him down, but with the other weapon you would actually do some damage, and this one you don't. The second phase is even worse because this man is just straight up chilling, just vibing, absolutely relaxing in this lava. So now whenever I knock him down, I can't even reach him, so all I could really do now is stand back here and keep beaming him in his pretty little mouth with my magic sword. With that spicy boy out of the way, I finally have the confidence to face the first Elden Lord. Except it's not, because it's actually Hercules again. Ha! Gotcha. He likes to bum rush you at the beginning of every single fight, so if you're taking your pre-fight sip of gamer subs or chalky milk, he is gonna demolish you with his pure speed, skill, and will to kill. He's obviously very similar to Godfrey, except he feels a lot faster, and he has 2 giant fists instead of hammers, and he obviously does a different mix of moves and just a buttload of more health in general. I knew it would only be appropriate to use my Olympus blade at some point during this fight because it is literally made to kill gods, plus I decided to mix in my blades in there because I just thought it looked cool. Near the end of the fight, he goes into a second phase, seemingly at the very last minute, and he strips off that armor to reveal that he was hiding a glorious body underneath it the whole time, and though we both respect our physiques, we know only one of us are gonna make it out of here, and only one of us is a god slayer, and one of us is just a god. You can do the math on that one. Don't forget the PEMDAS. Never forget the PEMDAS. And not to mention how good the actual fist weapons are themselves, because these fists do be fisting very efficiently. And the way you just glide around with these fists is so elegant, especially if you're fighting somebody like Monopoly, because she's just the most anime boss in this whole game, and when we're both dashing around, it's just chef's kiss with a little bit of tongue. Doesn't mean that this was easy though, because these fists give me a very false sense of confidence because she could still pretty much just delete me from existence at any point she wants, but eventually she goes down just like the rest of them, and I can go face Mr. Ring himself. Who I'm just going to pretend is Zeus because they are both lightning-wielding gods with long beards that happen to be terrible fathers. But at least their children got to be gods. I just got childhood trauma and nightmares about him at least once a month. And other than that, yeah, I mean, I'm the god of war. I don't know what you expect. Of course I destroyed them. This is just another Tuesday for him. I mean, try finding the will to live. Now that's hard. Thank you guys so much for watching though, and special thanks to all my top channel members, which you can join by clicking the join button if you so please. And if you wanted to get this mod yourself, you could look up the Garden of Eyes launcher or the YouTube channel, or just click the link in the description. They have a bunch of other mods as well that all have clearly had a lot of work put into them, so if you're interested, you can check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've had a really fun time with these mod videos, and I have a few more planned, but let me know if there's anything specifically that you want to see. And have a great rest of your day. Peace.